15th session of the Senate in the first regular session of the 20th Congress is hereby called to order. Chair would like to call on Senator Robin Hood Padilla to lead the chamber in prayer. You may proceed, sir.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Sa ngalan ng nag-iisang Diyos, ang pinakamapagpala at ang pinakamakabuti. Naalala
Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camille, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 22 senators present, Chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, at this juncture, before we proceed, may I just be allowed to greet some guests from the gallery. We have with us guests of this representation and Senator Zubiri, Villar, Marcoleta. We'd like to acknowledge Congressman AJ Advincula of Cavite and Mayor Alex Advincula of Imus Cavite, also guests of Senator Lacson. Guests of Senator Gatchalian, Mayor Nonoy de la Cruz of Don Salvador, Benedicto, Negros Occidental. Guests of Senator Lapid, former Governor Ruth Padilla of Nueva Vizcaya. Mayor Christopher Aguilar of Santa Rosa, Nueva Ecija. Mayor Benedict Calderon of Rojas Isabela. Vice Mayor Fanny Teves of Muntinlupa City. Guests of this representation, LGU officials of Cuenca, Batangas, headed by Mayor Alex Magpantay, Board Member Rudy Balba of the 3rd District of Batangas, Vice Mayor Emil Lat of Malvar, Batangas. We welcome all of them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
To the aforementioned guests, welcome to your Senate. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, with the consent of the body and in consultation with the Minority Leader, may I respectfully move to suspend the rules and authorize the Committee on Finance to continue with the briefing by the Development Budget Coordination Committee on the proposed fiscal year 2026 National Expenditure Program simultaneously with the ongoing session. Mr. President, this will ensure the efficient use of time and allow the committee to fulfill its mandate of scrutinizing the proposed budget in a timely manner without delaying the plenary's regular business. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection?
We have no objection, Mr. President.
Thank you. Duly noted. The manifestation of the Minority Leader that he has no objection is duly noted, and with our due thanks for the Minority Leader's magnanimity. Hearing none, motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Kiko Pangilinan is seeking the floor. I move
What
that
is
he
the
be recognized,
pleasure of
Mr.
the
President.
Honorable Pangilinan?
Just a manifestation that
The gentleman may proceed.
that the suspension of the rules should not be a precedent for future committee hearings that may be that will lead to a suspension again of the rules because of other committee hearings simultaneous with plenary.
That is the understanding, given the nature of the motion, that it is suspension of the rules. It is not in the ordinary course of events or practice that it will or shall be done.
Thank you,
Noted.
Mr. President. And we submit to that manifestation of Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Mr. President, at this juncture, may we proceed with the reference of business?
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to comply.
Bills on first reading, Senate number 1001, an act regulating the imposition of fees for the use of parking spaces located within commercial and business establishments, institutions, and other parking facilities. Senator Estrada.
The Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1002, an act upholding the right of acquisition by qualified beneficiaries of government-owned lands they actually occupy, amending certain provisions of RA 7279, the Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992, and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
The Committee on Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement.
1003, an act amending certain provisions of RA 7160, the Local Government Code of 1991, and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Local Government.
Senate number 1004, an act ensuring equal employment opportunities to members of indigenous cultural communities and preference in certain cases and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development, Cultural Communities, and Muslim Affairs.
1005, an act amending section 271 of Act number 2711, the revised administrative code as amended. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Human Rights.
1006, protecting the rights of all workers, workers' organizations, and unions from interference by their employers, public authorities, or their agents, and providing penalties for violations thereof. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
1007, mandating the establishment of fisher-focused settlement areas by the Department of Agriculture, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and local government units, amending Section 108 of RA 8550, the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998, is amended by RA 10654. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement.
1008, an act increasing the compensation of social workers in government service, amending for the purpose RA 9433, an act providing for a Magna Carta for public social workers. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
1009, modernizing the national measurement system of the Philippines, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Science and Technology, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1010, an act increasing the hazard pay of all personnel of the AFP to 25% of their base pay and providing funds therefore. Senator
The
Estrada.
Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, Reconciliation, and Finance.
1011, an act providing for a comprehensive and rationalized grant of rewards to informers for the discovery of violations of internal revenue and customs law. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Ways and Means, and Finance.
1012, an act enhancing the competitiveness of the Philippine maritime trade by strengthening the oversight functions of relevant government agencies over the imposition of shipping charges by international shipping lines and institutionalizing mechanisms for the efficient movement of goods. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Public Services and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1013, an act granting benefits and incentives to accredited Bantay Dagat and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Local Government, and Finance.
1014, an act declaring the Kaparkan Falls located in Barangay Caganayan, Municipal of Tineg, Province of Agra, an ecotourism site and establishing the Kaparkan Falls Development Council. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Tourism, Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, and Finance.
1015, an act recognizing the indigenous cultural communities and indigenous peoples, community conserved territories and areas, establishing for the purpose the National ICCA Registry and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs, and Finance.
1016, an act providing for a Magna Carta of commuters. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Public Services and Finance.
1017, an act declaring the immediate environs of the National Shrine for Mother of Perpetual Help, popularly known as the Baclaran Church, located along Ross Boulevard, Parañaque City, a heritage site and tourist destination. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Culture and the Arts, Tourism, and Finance.
1018, an act creating and establishing the Institute for Strategic Studies and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
1019, an act establishing the Philippine Ear, Nose, and Throat Center and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1020, an act requiring local government units to earmark portion of their national tax allotments for free medicine to indigent patients in their localities and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Local Government, Health and Demography, and Ways and Means.
1021, an act institutionalizing the cash budgeting system and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Finance.
1022, an act institutionalizing the participation of civil society organizations in the preparation and authorization process of the annual national budget, providing effective mechanisms therefore and for other purposes. Senator
To the
Estrada.
Committees on Finance and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation.
1023, an act amending certain sections of Republic Act number 7305, the Magna Carta of Public Health Workers, and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Civil Service, Government Organization, Professional Regulation, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1024, an act establishing an online death verification system under the Philippine Statistics Authority, thereby ensuring government efficiency and facilitating the administration of justice by strengthening the fraud detection, prevention, and elimination capability of the government. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Science and Technology, and Finance.
1025, amending Article 123 of PD 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, by requiring the regional board to issue a wage order every year or an explanation for not issuing such wage order. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
1026, an act providing for the development of sustainable cities and communities in the country. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, and Ways and Means.
1027, an act to require the giving of free medical and dental service to indigent children and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
1028, an act preserving the indigenous games of the Philippines. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Culture and the Arts and Sports.
1029, an act establishing a national sex offender registration database and providing funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator
To the
Estrada.
Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, and Finance.
1030, an act institutionalizing a results-based national evaluation policy. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Economic Affairs and Finance.
1031, an act to amend certain sections of RA 7431, the Radiologic Technology Act of 1992, and for other purposes. Senator
To the
Estrada.
Committee on Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation.
1032, an act protecting the users of radio frequency identification devices. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Public Services and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1033, an act establishing the Philippine Air Force Academy and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, Higher Technical and Vocational Education, and Finance.
1034, an act to develop a national quality policy defining the Philippine national quality infrastructure thereof, creating for this purpose the Philippine National Quality Infrastructure Coordinating Council. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
1035, an act establishing the Young Farmers and Fisher Folk Challenge Program, creating for the purpose the Young Farmers and Fisher Folk Challenge Council and appropriating funds therefore. Senator
To
Estrada.
the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Youth, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1036, an act strengthening the Commission on Higher Education, repealing for the purpose RA 7722, the Higher Education Act of 1994, and for other purposes. Senator
To
Estrada.
the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1037, an act providing for a Magna Carta of Agricultural Development Workers. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation, Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, and Finance.
1038, an act to modernize all public schools and state colleges and universities in the Philippines, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator
To the
Estrada.
Committees on Basic Education, Higher Technical Vocational Education, and Finance.
1039, an act establishing a framework for citizens' participation and legislative policy making through the use of information and communications technology platforms. Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, Public Information, and Mass Media.
1040, an act increasing the compulsory age of retirement for officers and non-officers of the Philippine National Police from 56 years old to 57 years old, amending Section 39 of RA 6975, otherwise known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990 as amended. Senator
To
Estrada.
the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Local Government.
1041, an act strengthening the drug rehabilitation programs of the government, amending for this purpose RA 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002 as amended, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Health and Demography, and Finance.
1042, an act expanding the coverage of tertiary education subsidy, amending for the purpose RA 10931, the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Higher Technical Vocational Education, and Finance.
1043, an act providing for the Magna Carta for for Public Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Workers, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
1044, an act mandating the submission of a tree planting plan as a requirement in the application for building permit, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources and Climate Change and Local Government.
1045, an act further amending RA 7277 as amended, the Magna Carta for persons with disability and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator
To
Estrada.
the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, Labor, Employment and Human Resources Development, Ways and Means and Finance.
1046, an act providing for the rank classification and organization of key positions in the Bureau of Fire Protection and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, amending RA 9263, the Bureau of Fire Protection and Bureau of Jail Management and Penology Professionalization Act of 2004, as amended by RA 9592, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Civil Service, Government Organization and Professional Regulation and Finance.
1047, an act amending Republic Act Number 1405, otherwise known as the Secrecy of Bank Deposits Law, Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Institutions and Currencies.
1048, an act further protecting the integrity of the right of suffrage by amending Section 261 of BP 881, Series of 1985, otherwise known as the Omnibus Election Code as amended, defining the crime of cyber vote buying and vote selling and providing penalties thereof, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation in Justice and Human Rights.
1049, an act establishing the Suporta para sa Produktong Pilipino program, appointing funds and for other purposes, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship, Local Government and Finance.
1050, an act adopting integrated coastal management as a national strategy for the holistic and sustainable management of coastal and related ecosystems and the resources therein, establishing the National Coastal Greenbelt Action Plan, other supporting mechanisms for implementation and providing funds therefore, Senator Estrada.
To the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources and Climate Change, Ways and Means and Finance. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. At this juncture, Mr. President, and pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of our rules, may I respectfully elect the following senators as members of the Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. For Vice Chairperson, Senator Rodante Marcoleta. For members, Senators Mark Villar, Camille Villar, Bongo, Lito Lapid, Bato de la Rosa, Amy Marcos, and Rafi Tulfo. And for the minority, Senators Risa Ontiveros and Loren Legarda. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? The aforementioned members and Vice Chairperson are deemed elected to the Committee on Public Information and Mass Media.
Mr. President,
Majority
our
Leader.
Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, is seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
What is the pleasure of our distinguished Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Jinggoy Estrada?
Just a manifestation, Mr. President.
The gentleman may proceed.
Mr. President, early today, the Bureau of Customs carried out a search warrant in the property of the Discayas in Pasig City and found only 3 of the 12 luxury vehicles in the premises. 3 na lang po ang nakita. Mr. President, ayon sa aking nakalap na impormasyon, nasa 80 sasakyan ang pagmamayari ng mag-asawang Diskaya at ng kanilang mga kumpanya. Mula sa 80, nasa mahigit kumulang sa na 40 ang luxury vehicles. Ipapakita ko po sa screen ang breakdown ng mga sasakyan na ito. Okay. From the LTO records, Mr. President, there are 63 vehicles, luxury and mainstream brands. Kasama po dyan yung mga binanggit ni Sara Diskaya kahapon sa hearing na Rolls-Royce, Kulinan, Bentley Bentayga, 2 GMC Yukon Denali, Cadillac Escalade, Mercedes-Benz Wagon, G63, Range Rover Evoque. May 3 rin siyang binanggit kahapon, yung Range Rover Defender, Cadillac Escalade at Mercedes-Benz Maybach na wala po sa records ng LTO. Sa pinag-uusapan na nag-viral na YouTube channel ni Julius Babaw, meron pang 8 luxury vehicles na wala sa tala ng LTO na nakapangalan sa mag-asawang Diskaya. Napag-alaman din ng aking tanggapan na meron pang 6 na mamahaling sasakyan ng pagmamayari ng mag-asawang Diskaya tulad ng Volvo XC90, Mercedes-Benz GLS, saka isang Maserati. Nakakalulang yaman po ito, Ginoong Pangulo. Kung doon sa 28 luxury cars na inamin ni Sara, na pag-aari nila ay halos hindi ako makapaniwala, wala pa pala yun sa kalahati ang kabuang bilang ng kanilang mga sasakyan. Mr. President, this is totally outrageous. And I would just like to spread this into the records, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Noted and entered into the records, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, at this junction,
Into the records, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, at this junction, may I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from the great province of Isabela and Davao, Senator Rafi Tulfo, to deliver his privileged speech. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Honorable Tulfo is recognized to deliver his privileged speech. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I speak before you today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. As an archipelago, sea travel is unavoidable. Kaya naman po, ang ating mga seaports ay mahalaga para sa ating bansa at sa ating mga kababayan. We always have our eyes sa mga airport at sa land travel. But we should not forget our seaports because they contribute to our national economic development and international and domestic trade. In numbers, our ports cater to 621,801 ship calls, 280 million metric tons of cargo, 7.8 million TEU container traffic, 78.7 million passenger traffic, and 11.2 million ro-ro traffic annually. Ports generate significant revenue, support tourism by providing access to remote locations, and enable participation in the global market by serving as gateways for imports and exports. That is why, as the chairperson of the Committee on Public Services, sinugurado ko na matutukan ang mga problema at estado ng ating mga seaports. Nito mga nakaraang buwan, magmula ng hinawakan kong public services, umikot po ako sa iba't ibang port para maunawaan ang mga problema at kailangan ng taong bayan. Please indulge me a couple of minutes of your time to look at some of the ports we have visited. Wala. Okay. Kung hindi, wag na.
Pag sinuot ito ng isang tao hindi marunong lumangoy at medyo mabigat ang weight tulad halimbawa ni tatay, ni nanay, lulubog to. Tingnan nyo. Tapos to butas pa. Tapos butas-butas. Oh. Pag umulan, mababasa itong mga tao. Dapat, inspeksyonin nyo, huwag nyo munang patakbuhin to for the safety and convenience of the passengers. Ito, nakalagay 30 maximum capacity passengers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bakit nakalagay dyan 45? Ang sinasakay mo 45, di ba? Oh, yan na. Meron na pala mga ticket yon, pinagpapawisan, may mga bata, pinapaypayan. Bakit natin hindi ilagay dito na aircon? Doon, mainit. Pag yan nahulog, tatama sa tao. Tapos yun, parang naghihingalo eh. Di ba dati meron kayong counter?
Nagagawa pa ba nating sa ngayon, sir? Wala pa sa ngayon, sir.
Bakit wala? Kasi kung kayo ay mag-aasa lamang sa manifesto, paano kung meron pinalusot ng pinalusot, nagkanya-kanya na silang kung saan-saang deck. So dapat merong counter para kung tutugma rito yung bilang ninyo doon sa nakalagay sa manifesto. The purpose is also para makita din yung insurance.
Pwede mabuksan tong clinic? Wow! Maling-mali ito. Clinic ito? Hindi dapat ganito.
We'll take
kwarto.
note of this, sir.
Paano kung may mga dalang droga, may madalang baril? Ano na?
Hindi namin yun madetect, sir.
Ayun, so paano kung ako ay terorista, naglagay ako ng napakaraming baril sa ilan ng upuan, naglagay pa ako ng isang sakong droga, lusot na.
Random nga lang po sir dahil yung limited din na po yung capability ng mga aso po natin sir. So from time to time, pagkano sir,
Ay, wag po random. Kasi paano kung natsambahan kayo, may droga doon. So dapat po, each and every vehicle na papasok, check talaga, wag random. Sir.
From Manila po, lumipad po kami to Zamboanga. Tapos nagstay kami ng overnight sa Zamboanga. Kinabukasan po, lumipad naman po kami from Zamboanga to Tawi-Tawi. Pagdating namin po sa Tawi-Tawi, sumakay naman po kami ulit ng tricycle papuntang Old Chinese Port or Bungaw. Pagdating po namin sa Old Chinese Port or Bungaw Port, sumakay po kami ng lunch.
May nag-expect? Wala.
Wala po.
During these ocular inspections and committee hearings conducted, we have flagged various issues, including number one, overloading during peak seasons caused by faulty ticketing systems of passenger ship companies. Number two, it was also observed that there is no strict documentation to the manifest log sheet of passengers. Number three, we also noted the lack of proper screening of passengers and their bags, particularly those on board Roro and private vehicles. Number four, some ports have substandard facilities, no sufficient seats in the waiting area, unsanitary toilets, and poor ventilation. Number five, during peak seasons, fixers demand 2,500 pesos up to 5,000 pesos from vehicle owners in exchange for prioritized port entry. Number six, when it comes to cargo being loaded on the vessels, I noticed that there is no need to provide more X-ray machines and K9 units that could check the cargo, which is sometimes used to transport smuggled goods, unregulated firearms, and prohibited drugs. Mr. President, who should be on top of these things? It is the Philippine Ports Authority. The PPA's mandate is to establish, develop, regulate, manage, and operate a rationalized national port system in support of trade and national development. According to them, their vision is that by 2030, the Philippine Ports Authority, as part of an integrated transport and logistic system, shall have provided port facilities and services at par with global best practices and a port regulatory environment conducive to national development. Kaya ba ito, PPA? Allow me to make a wild guess. Kung titingnan natin ang ilang mga proyekto ng PPA, suntok sa buwan po. Mr. President, may nakarating po sa akin na may isang infrastructure project ang PPA sa Zamboanga. Isang modern daw na two-story passenger terminal with a penthouse intended to cover 9,416 square meters and serve up to 3,000 passengers. The notice to proceed was issued on February 23, 2021 to MAC Builders, with the project formally approved by PPA General Manager J. Daniel Santiago and awarded at a contract price of 485 million pesos. The agreed timeline for completion was 720 calendar days, targeting February 13, 2023. Pero it has been 932 days, hindi pa din po ito tapos. Sa ngayon, civil works appear to have been abandoned. No updates or accountability have been made public by the Philippine Ports Authority. The project, as of date, has a completion rate only of 56%. Kung ano-anong dahilan ang binibigay: limited supply of construction materials, insufficient manpower, and persistent unworkable weather conditions. Lahat naman dinadaanan yan. Dapat ay nakafactor na yan sa timeline nila. At kahit natamaan pa ito ng COVID, matagal lang natapos ang pandemya. Sabi nga ng mga tao doon, mas nauna pa natapos ang SM na sinimulan kamakailan lang kesa matapos itong passenger terminal na ito. Mr. President, puro extension na itong proyekto na ito. Ngayon, pinapa-approve nila ang 5th project extension at pending approval, nag-apply na sila ng 6th project extension. Ang nakakapagtaka, may nagsabi sa akin na naghahanap na sila ng subcontractor natatapos nito pero wala nang gustong humawak nitong proyekto dahil hindi na sapat ang pondo para sa pagtapos ng proyekto. Zamboanga Passenger Terminal is just one of the many projects under the watch of PPA General Manager J. Santiago, which are distributed to 3 pet contractors. One of them is Mac Builders. Sino ba itong Mac Builders? Pasikatin na natin. Itong Mac Builders ay dati nang na-blacklist ng National Irrigation Administration noong February 2021 dahil sa pagka-terminate ng Malinaw Dam Improvement Project sa Bohol. This 730.9 million pesos project was terminated because of failure to fully and faithfully comply with contractual obligations without valid costs and lack of essential equipment. The performance security of 219 million pesos was forfeited. The MAC and MAC was suspended from government procurement for 1 year mula January 28, 2021 hanggang January 27, 2022. Pero ang milagro, di pa lumalagpas ang isang buwan, February 19, 2021, ay hindi na blacklisted ang MAC Builders ng Government Procurement Policy Board o GPPB. At kung gaano ka-delay ang kanilang project, nakarating din sa akin na delay din ito sa pagbayad sa mga empleyado. Sabi ng ilang mga nagtatrabaho, pa din sa MAC Builders, no benefits, delayed salary, palakasan, sip-sip culture is widely spread. They did not pay government contributions, delayed salary and toxic culture at work. Management has no care at all. Pambihira naman to. Hindi naman lang naibabahagi sa mga empleyado nilang nagpapakahirap yung mga naibulsang pera ng bayan. Mr. President, apart from this delayed passenger terminal, the services in the Zamboanga port is horrendous, despite the 2.5 billion contract with Global Port Zamboanga Terminal Incorporated. First, there is the persistent scalping of port access issues. There are repeated complaints about unauthorized ticket resellers and weak ticketing controls. Second, poor pre-departure holding area conditions. Passengers required to stay for at least 2 hours in the pre-departure area and do not have any proper seating facilities and suffer from very poor ventilation. Third, lack of accessibility and priority lanes. There are no special lanes or priority boarding for parents with small children, senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and pregnant women. Finally, there's a concern regarding the cargo handling rates at Zamboanga, which increased by more than 300%. Local stakeholders cite this as a major blow to small traders from Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi who rely on the port for commerce. Indeed, people from the shipping industry has been saying that the PPA infra anomalies has slowed domestic trade significantly and has made local shipping more expensive than international shipping. Mr. President, sounds familiar itong unfinished passenger terminal project sa Zamboanga. At dahil may momentum na tayo dito sa mga flood control projects, gusto kong tuloy-tuloy na itong pag-ungkat ng mga kalokohan sa iba pang mga proyekto ng gobyerno. I want to focus on improving our transportation sector. At sa ating mga kababayan, inanyayan ko po kayo na magsumbong dahil we are on your side. Get involved in these hearings. Put pressure on your public officials until it hurts. Demand transparency and accountability, and insist on public involvement and participation. We will ensure that all other ports will get checked and be worth every centavo invested from the people's money. Kaya sa PPA, shape up or ship out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Yes, Mr. President, the minority leader is seeking the floor to interpellate the gentleman from Isabela. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
The distinguished minority floor leader is recognized for his interpellations and or interjections with leave of the gentleman from Tarlac, the Honorable Tulfo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the distinguished gentleman from Isabela, Tarlac, and the Philippines answer a few,
No,
a few questions, Mr. President. Kaya Philippines na para ano na natin.
Yes, Mr. President, by all means.
Thank you. We would like to congratulate you for this well-crafted privilege speech, and we are somehow bothered by the revelations. No? Imagine a contractor who has been blacklisted has again been able to get projects from government. Baka baksak na naman ito doon sa sinasabi nating pagka-blacklisted, baka hindi na dapat binibigyan ng pagkataon. Anyway, I hope my only question, it depends on the answer of the gentleman, is who is this Mac Builders, Mr. President? Who are the people behind Mac Builders?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, for that question. The contractor, Mac Builders, the owner and president is Manuel A. Chua. And the contract price was 485 million pesos. The project that was mentioned in my privilege speech. And this contractor, like I said, Mr. President, has been blacklisted already, supposed to be for 1 year, but even before 1 year, siya po ay nabigyan ulit ng contract. Kapareho po ito sa mga flood control projects na pinag-usapan natin ngayon dito sa Senado, and even yung mga projects sa irrigation, Mr. President, halos kapareho itong mga nangyayari ngayon, na yung mga contractors na na-blacklist pero nabibigyan ulit ng mga proyekto afterwards.
Sila rin ba yung ano, are they the same contractors for the NIA of Malinaw, Bonot, Earthfield Dam projects that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, Mr. President, yung Malinaw project, sa kanila po yun, Mr. President.
Sa kanila, yung Bonot, Earthfield Dam.
Yung Bonot, we still have to verify, Mr. President. Pero
Alright.
yung Malinaw, I'm very sure na sila po yun, Mr. President.
These Mac Builders and the other possible contractors, were they licensed by the PICAB, by the PCAB, the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board?
Yes, Mr. President, they were duly licensed by PICAB.
And the blacklist came from?
The procurement board is the one that blacklisted them, Mr. President.
GP? From the DBM,
GPPB, Mr. President.
GPPD. Alright.
Yes.
So yun yung nag-blacklist.
Yun po, Mr. President, ang nag-blacklist sa Mac Builders.
And then thereafter, how many years or months before they were able again to get the contract?
1 month pa lamang, Mr. President. Agad-agad nilift yung blacklisting sa kanila at nabigyan ng panibagong contract.
I believe, Mr. President, that there should be a thorough investigation of the revelations of the distinguished gentleman. And perhaps the Committee on Public Services would be the proper agency to look into the matter because of the PPA and what is the other one involved, the Zamboanga port and all the other ports.
Yes, Mr. President.
Are the ones that are involved.
Thank you, Mr. President. And pag nagkaroon po ng hearing, I would like to invite you to attend para kayo po'y makapag-contribute, makapagbigyan ng input sa gagawing hearing tungkol sa isyong ito, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. That is all for now. I will hopefully wait for the hearing to be done very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Soto, our distinguished minority floor leader. What is the pleasure of the Honorable Mark Villar?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd just like to make a manifestation, a brief manifestation.
The gentleman may proceed with his manifestation.
Mr. President, this is not an interpellation, but rather a manifestation of support for our dear colleague's privileged speech. Mr. President, as an archipelagic country, ports are gateways to various localities and tourism hotspots. They have consequential value in ensuring that our fellow Filipinos and tourists from all over the globe have efficient access to inter-island transportation. Additionally, our ports are hotspots of economic activities because they facilitate not just the transport of people, but also of goods across the country. Even minimal disruptions or delays due to dilapidated infrastructure and other factors could have debilitating impact to our kababayans and the conduct of economic activities. For example, Mr. President, sa Matnog Port sa Sorsogon, ayon sa mga pasahero at cargo trucks or drivers na regular na tumatawid at gumagamit ng port, kung dati po 3 hours ang maximum na waiting time para makasakay papuntang Allen, Northern Samar, ngayon po ay aabutin na ng more than 12 hours or worse kapag cargo lang, days or ilang araw inaabot. In fact, minsan umaabot ng ilang kilometro ang traffic ng cargo vehicles dun sa Matnog. And as we know, delays would entail additional costs for people and goods. Not to mention yung pagod ng mga pasahero. Imagine this, a bus ride from Manila to Matnog would take 12 to 15 hours as it is. Tapos madadagdagan pa ng unreasonable delay at waiting time. This would be a very grueling trip. And another example is also the port of Padre Burgos in southern Leyte. As reported by my staff, the port was damaged by the recent typhoons, causing disruptions in the transportation. So actually, we lobbied in last Congress for the declaration of various municipalities of southern Leyte as tourism zones. Pero ngayon, nasira ang port, maraming delay sa transport mula sa maliliit na bangka na tumatawid sa mga isla hanggang sa malalaking barko na mayroong cargo na dadalhin sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa. Mr. President, I highly commend our dear colleague, Senator Raffy Tulfo, for bringing this matter before us. This is really a pressing issue that we have to give emphasis to, and we must look further into these findings of Senator Raffy to prevent disruptions and delays in our ports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Villar. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, next to interpolate is the gentleman from Palawan, the close friend of the gentleman from Davao, no other than Senator Erwin Tulfo. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
The gentleman is so recognized. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a manifestation, Mr. President. May the good gentleman from who grew up in Davao and married in Isabela yield to some questions.
He may do so if he so desires.
Yes. Would you agree, Mr. President, that the Philippine Ports Authority, a GOCC, originally created under PD number 505, is mandated to establish, develop, regulate, manage, and operate a rationalized national port system in support of trade and national development, Mr. President?
You're precisely correct, Mr. President.
My next question, Mr. President, is the Philippine Ports Authority has a total budget of 1.35 billion for 2025. Ang tanong ko po, Mr. President, do you mean hindi po nasama yung completion po ng Zamboanga Port at hanggang hindi pa natatapos dun sa 135 billion, Mr. President?
Tama, Mr. President, hindi pa nakumpleto at marami mga binibigyan na dahilan itong contractor, kesyo COVID, kesyo ulan, kesyo kulang sa manpower, marami mga kesyo at ngayon naghahanap po sila ng another contractor para subcontract yung proyekto pero walang gustong tumanggap na contractor dahil malulugi sila.
Alam po ba, Mr. President, ng butihing mambabatas mula po sa Davao, Isabela, Tarlac, kung kailan po sinimulan itong proyektong ito ng Philippine Ports Authority sa ang Zamboanga Port?
February 2021, nagsimula po ito, Mr. President, and hanggang ngayon, 4 years after, hindi pa rin natatapos. Sabi nga ng mga taga Zamboanga, buti pa yung sa SM, ilang buwan lang, tapos na agad. Samantalang itong port, yung Zamboanga Port,
4 na taon, hindi pa rin natatapos, Mr. President.
Panguli na lamang, Mr. President, magsasagawa po ba ng investigasyon ang Committee on Transportation hinggil po sa bagay na ito para masilip po, hindi lang po ang itong Zamboanga Port at iba pang mga pier na kinakailangan ng agarang atensyon ng pamahalaan, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President. Pag na-refer ito sa committee ko, sana doon sa committee ko ma-refer, hindi kung saan-saan, sa public services, then magkakaroon po ito ng hearing and you are definitely welcome and ini-invite kita, Mr. President, na umattend para makatulong sa pag-uusisa, pag-question, sa research and all para lumabas yung katotohanan tungkol sa project na ito, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all.
Majority Floor Leader, what is the pleasure of the Honorable De La Rosa?
No, hindi. I will give way to you. Your attorney. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a short interpellation to the...
The gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, yung ako po palaging bumabiyahe, Davao to Manila, Manila to Davao using magbaylan ako, tapos lahat ng ports na dadaanan ko. Ako, pakiramdam ko lang, Mr. President, if I am seeking the opinion of the good gentleman from Davao, Tarlac and Isabela. If,
No, not Tarlac, Mr. President.
Ha?
Walang Tarlac.
Walang Tarlac.
Hindi kasama.
Davao and Isabela lang. Okay. If the good gentleman would agree with me na parang itong ating mga ports ay napapabayaan in a very sad state dahil para bang tingin ng ako feeling ko lang na ang treatment ng gobyerno dito kasi ang gumagamit nito yung mga mahirap na tao lamang kasi alam nila yung mga mayayaman na mga reklamador magreklamo kung poor services ay palaging nag-aeroplano. Aeroplano yan sila pero yung mga mahirap na talagang hirap sa buhay, yan ang ginagamit yung pantalan, nagbabaylan, nagbabarko.
Roro.
Kaya siguro, I don't know, sana baguhin ng ating gobyerno yung treatment nila, pagtingin nila dyan. Dahil we're an archipelagic country. Yan ang pinaka-mode of service mode of transportation sa lahat ng ordinaryong tao. By boat, by land, by sea. Bihira lang yung mag-aeroplano dahil lalo na ngayon, napakamahal na ang pamasahe sa aeroplano. So siguro, kung magkakaroon tayo ng presidente na talagang pangmasa, tutukan yan ng yung mga pantalan na yan. Dahil, alam mo, pag naghihintay ako ng barko o yung ferry na tatawid sa from Luzon to Visayas or from Visayas to Mindanao, natutulog ako doon sa gilid ng pantalan. May tumutakbong mga daga, Mr. President, na makakagat ka pa ng daga. I must tell you frankly na gano'n. Pagod na pagod ka sa biyahe. Pagdating mo doon, wala pang barko. Lalabas ako sa sakyan, higa ako doon sa tabi ng
Sahig.
Mismo, sa sahig, sa ports ng may tumatakbo ng mga daga yung iba. Kaya, very sad state talaga yung ating mga pantalan. Sana yung PPA ay tutukan nila ito na ma-improve, Mr. President.
Tama ka, Mr. President, sa iyong observation. Yung mga sumasakay kasi sa mga barko, usually sila yung mga may hirap.
Yes.
At hindi sila masyado nagreklamo at wala silang boses, hindi sila masyado napapakinggan unlike doon sa mga sumasakay sa aeroplano, mayayaman, alta syudad, etc. So, madaling mapansin kapag sila ay magreklamo at magsumbong. So, it's about time na tutukan talaga itong mga ginagawa ng PPA, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, for having the same observation with this representation.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator De La Rosa. Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, just a point of information. We were looking at the sumbong sa Pangulo and based on the website, Mac Builders Corporation has flood control projects totaling to 972 million pesos, and these are found in Iloilo, Davao, and Leyte, Mr. President. So just to put that into the records, because this information came from DPWH itself, Mr. President. And the Minority Leader is agreeing with this representation. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to our dear colleague, Senator.
Thank you for that
Rafi Tulfo.
additional information, Mr. President.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we refer the privileged speech of Senator Rafi Tulfo and all the interpellations and the manifestations thereon to the Committee on Public Services. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 14th Session, Monday, September 1, 2025, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion of the Majority Leader to approve the journal is approved.
Mr. President, to allow our colleagues to participate in the ongoing briefing of the Senate Committee on Finance, may I respectfully move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 3, 2025. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 3, 2025.
Bitin tayo kahapon. Ako, babalik ako.